Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Life and Drawing podcast. This is episode 27, and in this episode, uh, working title Ongoing Struggles. And granted, that's a very broad topic in the sense of what particular struggles am I referring to. Is this spiritual struggles, physical struggles? I think it's a bit of all of that, and so it's not just an isolation on just one type of a struggle, and so and hopefully um, it would be helpful to everyone that's listening, even if a few of the struggles I highlight may not be uh, struggles that um, you deal with. So struggles, the ongoing struggles, the ones that we know we we need to do away with, but for whatever reason they persist, and it's just annoying each time we mess up. Each time we commit that same error, and it's just like, come on again. I thought I was over this, but I guess apparently I'm not. And so first thing, what are some of your instant trigger button struggles? For me, it is the mild case of road rage. And I want to emphasize mild because it's not the type where I'm chasing after folks or trying to run people off the road. Uh, it's not that level, but it's still road rage. But I guess it's more of a internal road rage. I'll talk to myself, or most of the time talk out loud in the car, and I don't know where I was going with this thing. And I think for me it's just a process of releasing that negative energy of what the heck just happened, man. When someone just cuts you off. I mean, it's a universal thing. If you live wherever cars are driven, uh, cars or motorcycles, whatever. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, someone cuts you off, and one of the worst things is when you're cut off, and the person goes slower. So they cut you off in haste, and then they immediately slow down. Oh my goodness, that happened to me so many times when I was still living in the Bahamas. It was just like, why the heck did you cut me off then? Like you, you seem like you were in such a haste. Continue that same pace. Um, but no, 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 no. I just want to cut you off because it's my duty. to cut you off and have you super frustrated. So, but that's how I felt. I was just like, come on, man, people. I mean, let's apply some common sense here. But it was not applied. It was left home underneath the rug in the basement. And so, but yeah, just road rage, inner road rage, inner mile road rage. Although I must say though, the thoughts I had, or thoughts I I still have, they're not so mild, So, and I'm not gonna disclose those, particularly with how social media is and things can get misconstrued, and I don't want to deal with that. So, but yeah, so road rage for me, and I guess this second one ties into that, just overall patience. Growing up, I always had a short fuse, and a hot temper, and so those were not good combinations. But yep, I just you know, particularly if I'm just minding my own business, and someone decides to butt in for no reason, that just I always lost it in that kind of situation. Because I was like, I was just minding my own business. I was just doing my own thing, and here you come along, and you're messing that all up. So that was all. Yeah, that was always a huge pet peeve of mine, and so didn't take much. Even family, it was family doing something. Yeah, didn't matter who you were. Yeah, so I think. Oh, and then yeah, and I mean, and I guess for most guys, purity, just purity of the mind, not taking a double look, or not, you know, dwelling on what you may have seen, and not making any excuses. But I'm sure most guys would say, in this day and age where freedom to express oneself is greatly encouraged, you know, you come across a lot of expressions. I'll put it, I'll put it that way. There's a lot of free expressions nowadays, and it's not hard to miss. So I don't know what I don't know what this is I'm doing, but I feel so disjointed from it. So let's circle it up and refresh. So, but yeah, so that's the first thing. Identifying what our instant trigger button struggles are, and how do we, how do we, how do we recognize those trigger and purpose to avoid those as best as we can, to not allow the trigger to then determine what we do next. And this is leading into the second question. Oh, you know what? I did not start the timer. That's all right. This is not going to be a long one. I know I always say that, and then it ends up being like 3 hours. Okay, that was an exaggeration. That's probably someone's trigger. When people exaggerate and, all this hyperbole, just really. So, but honestly, if that is someone's trigger, my apologies. I was just trying to be funny. I truly was. So, what was I saying? Oh, so that leads into part two as far as recognizing what those trigger points are and how they impact us. I think is key, because then that way we can set ourselves up to succeed and overcome. I think it's just I think it's First Corinthians or Second Corinthians that talks about no sin is common to man. And basically, God would not allow. And for those who are believers, this is more of a reiteration, a reminder, and for those who are not, I don't know how you receive it, but for those who are believers, we're given that encouragement that we're not going to be put into a situation where we can't overcome our struggle, specifically our sin or things that we know that we shouldn't be doing. And so it's helpful for us to identify what is the cause, the root of such trigger struggles, because then that would certainly help us identify what we need to do or not do. What we need to step away from, and to ensure that we will succeed and we won't just succumb to our hot trigger button struggles, and so we have to ask ourselves, what do we believe is the cause? What do we believe is the root? And that's not I don't think that's an easy question to answer, because if I think of what's the root behind my lack of patience, well, I guess, if you give it some thought, because now I say that, and I think for me it's, I'm not the most compassionate person. And so, would a lack of compassion make one more steely? I think that's a word, I'm not sure. I'll look it up afterwards. Would it make someone just more? Well, we know with someone who may not be as compassionate, it's kind of synonymous with being cold. And so would that lend to more like just instant rage, and just a bad attitude? So I guess you can, there is always a root. It's just identifying what that root is. and and again, in the the spiritual, the religious sect, we know that root is sin, and we know that, and for those who are not believers, it's like, what's this stuff? But for us who are like myself, we know that, hey, that's the root. That's the root to all of the corruption and the fallenness of this world. So we know that, and that's the overarching reason. But then there's a more specific reason as well, and that can be something more specific. Like for me, not being very compassionate, and that's something I'm fully aware of, and honestly, sometimes I work on that. I think many times I don't, but I know that, hey, that's part of the root, and I don't always think of that, with the struggle. I'm like, oh man, I was really hot tempered again. I don't think, oh yeah, that's because I'm not. Sometimes it's more when I become more reflective of, oh, my words were sharp, and I was short with this person, and even whether it's outwardly or just my inner thoughts, and then, and then I assess later on that, yeah, I was, yeah, I was just mean. I was just being mean to that person, and it was because I didn't really care much about them, and so that made it easier to be that way, and so, and I think once we recognize that, we come to an understanding of, okay, the root, the cause for the trigger button struggles. And thirdly, we have to then discover what we need to do to uproot those trigger points, those trigger buttons. And that's not easy, That's not something that happens overnight. But it is something that I think if we endeavor to pursue, it's something that's more attainable, and and that is the step that we should take, those small steps to uprooting those trigger points. And honestly, it may feel like, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 10 steps back. It's that pull and that seesaw effect of, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down. What's the point? I don't think anything's gonna change, and it will. The more we purpose, uh, the more we put that effort. It's just like doing anything. The easiest application would be exercising. And let's just say for a walk. It's like, oh, I gotta walk I don't think I could walk a mile. And well, just walk half a mile. Oh, hey, I did half a mile, and then do half a mile for 2 weeks, and before you know it, you can walk 1 mile, and depending on the body type, you get up to walking 5 miles, and you may be like, hey, you know what, I could jog a mile, and now you're jogging, or you've increased your miles greatly from what it was before. And I think that's the same thing with uprooting those trigger points. Uh, the more we pull and we tug at um, uh, the weeds of our ongoing struggles. I don't know why I'm having such botanical analogies with this topic, but I'm just gonna roll with it. So the more we pull at those weeds, the more we'll clear up the garden, and it won't be filled with so much weeds, and it won't be so easy to trip up over those trigger buttons, and so yeah. Um, when we recognize what our trigger points are, when we recognize the cause behind those, and then we just have the purpose to relinquish those trigger points, those trigger buttons, by pulling them by the root. And I think that will really set us up to be more successful in overcoming those ongoing struggles, because they won't go away entirely. And even if one goes away, there'll be another around the corner. That's how it usually works. And before you know it, you're like, oh, I thought I was done with this. Here is another one. And it's all a part of growth. It's all a part of just growing and maturing, and that's a process. We all know what it's like to deal with growing up when we were little kids, but the little kid doesn't realize what they have to go through and what they have to endure. They just see the struggle at hand. But as older folks, and particularly for those who are parents, we see it and it's like, this is just the beginning. This is gonna be an ongoing journey. But once you purpose to overcome, you will. And so let's purpose to do that. Let's purpose to overcome our ongoing struggles. Let's be willing to embrace them for what they are, and establish what the root and cause behind those particular ongoing struggles. And let's put on some gardening gloves and start pulling at those weeds at the root. So hopefully that made sense, this podcast. I'm actually recording this at 1:51. I was really sleepy, like an hour and a half before doing it. I was about to throw in the towel. I was like, it's 11:15. I go to bed at 12. I can have 4 hours. But I was like, no, I need to do this. I need to maximize the time. And so here I am. This is not the, make you feel bad or be like, oh my goodness, Michelo's uh, uh, burning the midnight oil. You know what? I so suck at analogies. I keep, particularly like established analogies. I try to say them and I just say the wrong thing. I think it's midnight oil, right? Or midnight lamp. Whatever it is. I'm not trying to get brownie points. So, but anyway, thanks so much for taking this time to listen and watch this Life and Drawing podcast, episode 27. Be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's see if we can get our subscribers up to 10. And so, again, take baby steps. But be sure to pass on the word if you like what you see and you like what you hear. Be sure to also leave a comment in the comment section. I've been getting like weird links. I don't even click on them because I look at them and I'm like, that looks sketchy. And so no weird comments or strange links. Those are probably bots. Anyway, moving along. Be sure to check out my Facebook page. Let me see if I can add some stuff in here. My Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Michelot Comics. You can also go to my Patreon. That's a great way to support what you see. And it's patreon.com/Michelot Lully. I don't have a custom URL for YouTube. I thought I did, and I thought it worked, but I was greatly mistaken. And so I think I need like 1,000 subscribers or something like that to get to that point. So I think that's everything. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and let's work on our ongoing struggles. Let's work on uprooting the weeds and the trigger buttons that just puts us back into a rut. So, thanks again. Have a great night, evening, morning, afternoon. Grace and peace.